Hello, my name is Brittany, and I will be doing my presentation on Ludwig van Beethoven, Life, Love, and Legacy. So Ludwig van Beethoven was a German pianist and composer and was one of the best classical pianist masters to this day. Ludwig has an innovative composition pieces mixed with instruments and vocals which revolutionized the classical era and the bandwidth of what is considered sonata and symphony. Connecting both the classical era to the Romantic ages, Beethoven had a hard life and at the peak of his career battled with the onset of deafness. Interestingly enough, throughout the last decade of his life, he composed some of his most important pieces. Ludwig had a relatively short life, passing away at the age of 56. Beethoven was the oldest sibling, born in 1770, and had two younger brothers, born in 1774 and 1776. His father was not a notable musician, but was well known for his alcoholism, which inevitably was the reason that he had to retire at an early age, as drinking was really harsh to his vocal cords. His grandfather was known for his prosperous and eminently proven musical skills, and was a great inspiration to the young Beethoven. After Beethoven's father's talents began to fade, the Beethoven family formally requested an appointment at the assistant court organist. Upon acceptance, the Beethoven family was put on the court payroll with a salary of 150 florins annually. Beethoven's father took tough love to the max, as he was often flogged or had his hands hit when he missed a beat when playing piano, often being forced to stay up for extra hours just for practicing. From an early age, he studied violin and clavier, taking lessons from local organists and practicing with his father. Regardless of his harsh upbringings, Beethoven was undeniably a genius. In 1781, at the age of 10, Beethoven ended up withdrawing from school to study music full-time at the age of 12. At the same age, Beethoven published his first composition with a classical composer named Dressler. In 1784, when Beethoven was accepted as an assistant court organist. In Beethoven's 20s, he moved to Vienna and studied with Mozart's teacher Haydn, often called the father of symphony. In 1792, Haydn was completely absorbed into his compositions, overlooking some of Beethoven's mistakes. Although Beethoven was an expert at the arts of music, he still outsourced to iron out any kinks throughout his compositions. Haydn and Beethoven argued much throughout their experience together based on creative differences, but Beethoven still dedicated many of his piano sonatas to his teacher. Beethoven's first love was a countess named Julie in 1801, but was doomed from the start, as she was a countess and he was a commoner. He dedicated his famous piano sonata, number 14, Moonlight, to her. Beethoven often rebelled against aristocracy, and often exclaimed that musicians at his stature should have just as much respect and nobility. For many years, he worked under Prince Karl von Munchausen, whom even once exclaimed to his personal servant, if both him and Beethoven were to knock, Beethoven would be served first. Later in his life, he began to be in cahoots with another countess, who he gave piano lessons to in 1799, but was once again pressured by her family to end their relationship. By 1800, Beethoven could hardly participate in conversation. In 1801, he revealed his handicap to the public and wrote his friend Franz Wegler, stating, "I must confess that I lead a miserable life. For almost 2 years, I have ceased to attend any social functions just because I can find it impossible to say to people, 'I am deaf.' If I had any other profession, I would be able to cope with my infirmity. But in my profession, it is a terrible handicap." As Beethoven composed some of his most important works, he tried to hide a big secret by dodging meetings, ceremonies, and social events. Soon the truth was inevitable. Beethoven was becoming deaf. In 1803, he wrote his third symphony, Eroica, the longest symphony composition of any other composer, leaving his mark in history. At first, he was going to name it Bonaparte after Napoleon because he looked at Napoleon's character as heroic and was the driving force behind the French Revolution. Later, when he discovered that Bonaparte had proclaimed himself as emperor, he was forced into a rage, stating that he himself is just an ordinary man, stepping on the rights of fellow humans just to become a tyrant. Although Beethoven was incredibly gifted with music, he had very little engagement in arithmetic and was said to be incredibly messy. The appearance of Beethoven was sloppy and gave the appearance of a mad musical genius. He was desired in many places and even offered to stay in Austria, which he did not engage. The aristocrats in Vienna planned to keep Beethoven in Vienna, offered him an annual salary, which is really unusual for this point in history. In 1815, the death of Beethoven's baby brother Caspar sparked a huge custody battle over Carl van Beethoven, his nephew. The battle stretched on for years, spewing claims of defamation. Eventually, Beethoven won custody. All of Beethoven's symphonies are strategically placed. The odd symphonies, 3, 5, 7, and 9, are all lively and full of energy. All of his symphonies are easygoing and lyrical and melodistic. During his ninth and final symphony, he takes a bit of a turn away from his normal symphonies, bringing in a chorus and 4 solo vocalists who convey the message of human brotherhood and unification. Beethoven also had 16 string quartets that stretch over the span of his life, often drawing connection between his compositions, which are unmatched by any other composer. As Beethoven composed some of his most important works, he tried to hide a big secret by dodging meetings, ceremonies, and social events. Soon the truth was inevitable. Beethoven was becoming deaf. Although the battle was an incredible cripple, Beethoven created symphonies and dissonances that had an incredible and powerful energy. He hammered out all of his symphonies over a period of years, multiple at a time. Beethoven extended his forms and expanded the definition of the classical form. Tempo, dynamic, and expressive indications were far more expressed in his work than any other works before him. This concludes my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you for watching.